This is the BBC World Service.
Thank you for their news. Hello and welcome to Newsday on the BBC World Service with Davina Gupta and James Copnell. For advice, I've been speaking to Arne Bangsgaard Mathiasen, an advocate of the Dumbphone movement. He works with young people in Denmark, helping them to switch off and enjoy the present. So you've got your dumb phone and you want to tell the world about it as well, I guess. You go into schools and talk to students about it. How do they react when you say, tone back the technology, guys?
Yeah, what I do is, instead of just going out to a school and talking about it, I'm much more fond of giving them an experience themselves. So I'm making experiments on schools where I'm doing everything that I can to convince as many of them as possible to switch from their smartphone to a dumb phone for a period of 10 days. And then I have 600 phones right now of dumb phones, and I'm using them. So I have enough to cover all of the students. And that's the core principle of it that makes it fun. That is that they are all doing it at the same time. That also, the typical thing that people are afraid of is that they're afraid of experiencing FOMO, and this
fear of missing out. Yeah,
it eliminates FOMO because everybody is missing out, and then there's nothing to miss out of.
Right, got it. So my skin is crawling at the idea of giving up my smartphone. So probably I need it. I need your solution.
Sorry, that was not my intention.
But tell me about what some of the things the students have said to you after the 10-day trial.
Yeah, that's also where it starts becomes interesting, because now I've done it on 15 different schools, and it's very similar, the things that the students are explaining. One of the core things that is repeating themselves is they're explaining that they're sleeping better. It's easier for them to fall to sleep, and they're also saying that they have a more deep sleep. And also, these are schools where the students are living together in the same room, and they're also explaining that now when they have dumb phones, they're talking with each other when they're in the room, right until one of them falls asleep and don't talk anymore. and they kind of like these things. And then,
do you mean an actual conversation, people talking to each other and not just sending each other messages virtually? That still exists, does it?
It is. It's funny that they're mentioning that, because I've been to this type of school myself, where I'm living at the school, and one of the best things was to talk up until late in the evening before we went to sleep. And it made me a little bit sad to hear that that's not a typical thing actually for them to experience. So I'm really happy that this course can give them that experience.
And is the major benefit here for people's mental health?
Yeah, that's now I mentioned the core, that the sleep is a thing that the students are mentioning, but there's also the anxiety level is something that I repeatedly hear. I have a story from one of the schools I went to, where I think it was somewhere around 5 or 6 days into the experiment. And then in a morning gathering, there was one of the students who was standing up and explaining that she actually felt less anxious after switching. And then the principal of the school asked all of the students in the hall, who of you can relate to this? Who of you are having a similar experience? And then another 50 students stood up, and there was 95 students in this experiment. So that was over half of all of the students who were experiencing less anxiety in 5 or 6 days into the experiment. So I think that was quite significant. And my experience is all of the things that most people seems to have as intuitive thinking of how smartphones or social media might have affected society. That could be making us less open when we are in public, or less social when we're with friends. These are the exact things that I hear the students explaining that they're actually experiencing the opposite of, that they're experiencing being more present in conversations, experiencing having an easier time of making their homework, or having an easier time of falling into those random conversations in the dining hall.
Arne Bangsgaard Mathiasen there, a devotee of the dumb phone movement, in the forefront of that movement perhaps, at least in Denmark. I rather like this message we got in from Alex in Texas, who says, it's comical to me that we need to come up with terms like dumb phone to describe what 15 years ago we would have just called a phone. That is very true, isn't it? But I suppose we've got smartphones now, so dumb phones, why not? Would you...
Or revolutionary technology at that time.
Yeah, that big brick you held in your hand and convinced yourself it was cutting edge technology, which it was, but also weighed as much as a break.
Yeah, but to be honest, James, I really like those flip phones. And they were so convenient and also stylish. I don't mind going back to them if they can
Would
figure
you
out some...
take all the apps off your phone?
No,
Not look at social media?
Probably a combination of flip phone with smartphone. So smart flip phone is what I would go for. But I definitely cannot do what our speaker had just done. I cannot take out all my apps or be off.
It just means you need it more.
Could be. Digital detox this holiday season.
Maybe.